My name's Aron Ralston. My parents are down on Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado.
The man you saw in this video was Aron Ralston, a passionate adventurer who loved trekking and exploring extreme locations. Just like any of his previous adventures, he decided to explore Bluejohn Canyon. On April 26, 2003, he began his trek with limited food and water, and he had not informed anyone about this trip because he believed it would be a short adventure. But destiny had other plans. About 5 hours into exploring the canyon, he accidentally slipped on a boulder and fell several meters down. But the real nightmare began when a massive boulder crushed and trapped his right arm. Now the situation was terrifying. He was nearly 30 meters below the surface, and the nearest paved road was 20 miles away. Calling for help was impossible. Now, the only person who could save him was himself. He had only 3 options left: either chip away the boulder, try to move the rock, or cut his arm off completely. For the next 15 hours, he desperately tried to chip away the boulder, hoping to free his arm, but it was nothing more than a waste of time and energy. Then, he attempted to pull the rock away by tying it with a rope and dragging it using one hand. That attempt was a complete failure. In desperation, he even tried to cut his arm using the dull knife he had brought with him, but the blade wasn't even sharp enough to break through his skin. By now, he was completely exhausted and severely dehydrated. Days passed, with no sign of help. By day 4, Aron had almost lost all hope of survival, and during those final moments, this is the video message he recorded for himself.
My name's Aron Ralston. My parents are down on Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado. Whoever finds this, please make an attempt to get it to them. Be sure of it, I would appreciate it.
On day 5, Aron finally had a terrifying realization. He didn't need to cut through his arm with the dull knife. His arm was trapped in such a position that he could actually break his arm first and then cut it off. What followed took hours of unimaginable pain to finally complete.
It came to me, this epiphany that I could break the bones, because my arm was caught so tightly that I could torque myself. I slammed my body against the opposite wall. I grabbed the backside of the boulder and even got my feet up to where I was standing halfway up the wall and grabbing the backside of the rock and humping my body over it until finally that bottom bone snapped. And this pow sound went kind of echoing through the canyon.
But now you've got to cut off the arm.
Yeah, and I said to myself, here we go, Aron, you're in it now. And I took my knife.
Its blades were now bent and dull from days of stabbing at the rock.
At first I still had the larger blade out, and I held it up against my arm and I started pushing into it, and I couldn't get the knife to sink in, and so I switched over and I pulled out the smaller blade. And with the smaller blade then I actually started the amputation. The smaller one was still a little more sharp.
After freeing himself, Aron, in a critically injured condition, somehow managed to climb out of the canyon, and even then, his struggle wasn't over. He walked nearly 8 miles until a family finally noticed him and immediately called the authorities. The medical team arrived as fast as possible because even a small delay could have resulted in death due to severe blood loss. Fortunately, he survived. Today, Aron Ralston is a motivational speaker and a mechanical engineer. He later wrote a book based on this incident, which was adapted into the film 100 to 27 Hours. This next footage is from a Russian YouTuber known as Tim Morozov, who often posts videos about scary or weird incidents that happen during camping trips. This footage is also taken from one of his videos. In this video, he decided to explore a supposedly cursed forest along with his dog. At first, everything seemed normal, nothing unusual happened. But during the night, as he was about to go to sleep inside his tent, he suddenly heard strange noises coming from outside.
Кто здесь?
Curious and concerned, he stepped outside to check where the sound was coming from. His dog immediately ran deep into the forest, following the direction of the noise. Hours passed, It had already been 2 hours since the dog had disappeared into the forest. Morozov lit a fire and waited for his dog to come back. But by the time it was morning, his dog had still not returned. So he finally decided to search for his dog instead of waiting. He spent the entire day looking for him throughout the forest, but he couldn't find him anywhere. Then, at night, while he was still searching, something very unusual happened, and it was all caught on camera.
Bana.
To this day, no one knows where those arrows came from. Were they fired by hunters, or perhaps by some forest tribe living deep inside the woods? Realizing the danger, Tim quickly escaped from that area. He ran and hid in a safe spot, and while he was hiding, something surprising happened. His dog finally returned, almost as if it had sensed the danger its owner was in. This video later divided the audience into two groups. Many people believe the video is real and that the incident actually happened, but others think the video was staged because of how the events kept happening one after another, and also because he often uploads videos where scary incidents happened to him during camping. So the question is, what do you think? Was this real or staged? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. The next found footage is also from a YouTuber named Z Fishing TV, and as the name suggests, he usually uploads fishing vlogs. But on December 19th, 2023, he uploaded a video that was very different and extremely disturbing. The video started normally, just like any of his other uploads. He was unloading his gear and preparing to go fishing in a local lake using his kayak. Everything seemed fine. He entered the lake, but soon, he noticed something strange in the distance. Unsure of what it was, he slowly moved closer to take a better look, and what he saw next was the last thing he would have expected. He slowly moved his kayak around it, just to make sure before calling 911, and as soon as he confirmed it, he immediately called the police.
Alright guys, I think I found the body, and that is not cool. Oh no. Fishing day that I wanted to have.
Deep down, the only thing he was hoping for was that it would turn out to be just a mannequin and not an actual body.
Alright guys, I already called 911 and someone is gonna come out here and check that out. But that's definitely a body, yo. Unless it's a freaking mannequin, which I hope it is. But alright, they're about to come. So let's go back. Let's go back because they're gonna go come to the boat launch, and yeah, I'm not trying to.
He then waited at the bank of the lake for the police to arrive. Once they got there, the officers took his kayak and went into the water to check it themselves. Later, it was officially confirmed. It was a dead body, but even after that, the identity of the person remained unknown. Was it a fisherman or something far more mysterious? Incidents like this stay with you for years, because once you've seen something like that, you can never forget it. This next found footage is of a 22-year-old Russian diving instructor named Yuri Lipski. He had gone on a 2-day vacation to Dahab, Egypt with his family in April 2000. Being a diving instructor, he wanted to attempt a technical dive into the famous Blue Hole sinkhole. He asked for an experienced technical diver to accompany him, but they refused. They warned him that it was too dangerous, especially since he had only been there for 2 days. Such a dive requires at least a week of preparation along with specialized equipment. But despite all the warnings, Yuri still decided to go ahead. With only 2 days of preparation and without the necessary special equipment, he went in for the dive. The depth of the blue hole reaches up to 130 meters, which is around 400 feet, and beyond that, it drops even further to nearly 1,000 meters after a steep underwater cliff, a place so dangerous that it is often called the diver's cemetery. With all the gear he had, Yuri entered the water at around 5 p.m. At the beginning, you can see other divers present with him, but according to them, Yuri was carrying only 1 oxygen cylinder instead of 2, a dangerous mistake because it significantly increases the risk of nitrogen narcosis. Everything seemed normal at first, but slowly, Yuri started to descend away from the other divers. With every few meters deeper, he began to lose consciousness. After crossing nearly 30 meters, his body was no longer functioning normally. His lungs were taking in less effective oxygen, and the nitrogen level in his body started to increase rapidly. Within moments, Yuri lost control, and then he began drowning rapidly. The nitrogen narcosis had now fully kicked in, distorting his mind and movements. By this point, he had already crossed 80 meters. He tried desperately to swim back up, but it was useless because of the immense pressure at that depth. Finally, at around 91 meters, Yuri reached the bottom, and soon after, the camera stopped recording. But the story didn't end there. The camera was turned on again a week later, on May 5th, by a man named Tarek Omar. He was a professional diver who had gone down to retrieve the body of Yuri Lipski. If you want to watch more real-life found footage, check out my previous video shown on the screen. Till then, see you in the next video.